Hi guys, this is Marsha Gomes-Mckie. Welcome to Exploring Words and Arts. Today I'm going to look at a flashback and flash forward when you're doing creative writing. These are two techniques to begin your writing. So we're looking at a flashback. A flashback is a literary device that tells what happened in the past. So it's a memory of a past event. It happens before your story begins, and it's used to explain the personality, important habits, or fear of the main character. So, flashback means past. A very good example of a flashback is the movie Up. It's used to explain the personality of the main character. So, in this movie, it begins where you see two characters, a boy and a girl. They meet, they become friends, they grow up, they get married, they live a full life. They get old and then the wife dies. So this flashback is very important because it explains why 78-year-old grumpy Carl Fredrickson wants to travel to Paradise Falls so badly because his wife wanted to go there and never got to. So the flashback, without the flashback, the story wouldn't have made sense so quickly. So the flashback was actually a story in itself, but it was done for you to understand why he's so grumpy, understand why he's doing what he's doing, and to keep track of the story. So it really explains the personality of the main character. I'm giving you a story example. The prompt is write a story about a day when you did something brave, even though you were afraid. And this writer, this is a essay writer, she starts with a flashback. So I'm reading it for you. I opened my mouth gasping for air as the flood of salt water choked me, with my hands and legs thrashing wildly. I reached the surface and took a deep breath before another wave roared down on top of me and I swallowed the entire ocean. I will never forget that day or how terrified I felt when I nearly drowned. I have pledged to never enter the ocean again. I am more than happy to sit on the shore and busy myself with building sandcastles. So, this is the flashback she starts with. She starts with a flashback explaining why she's afraid of the ocean. She continues saying, today is my sister's Lisa's birthday, and her one wish was to come to the beach. I watched my sister and my parents as they splash in the waves and laugh, and my chest tightened as I remembered the feel of the water against me. I stuck another pile of sand and deepened my moat, and building a castle with a village and imaginary river. I turned my back to the ocean and watched the coconut trees as they sway. I admired the tall green lush mountains that framed the beach and smiled as other children set up to build their own sandcastle. I want to think of anything else but the ocean. So she continues the story, and then as the story goes along, something is going to happen, and the climax of the story is that she's going to save her sister from drowning. So she explains the flashback initially to show the reader why she's afraid of going to the ocean. And now she goes through the story and she's talking and she's going to end up where she saves her baby sister. And because she is afraid of drowning, because she nearly drowned before, it will be something brave. So this is a wonderful prompt, and it was a very good opportunity to use a flashback at the beginning because a flashback is used to explain why the personality was a fear or something that happened. And usually if you're talking about being brave, it means that you have to overcome a fear. So this was a good attempt. Let's move on. We're moving on to a flash forward. Now, a flash forward is opposite. It's a literary device in which the plot goes ahead in time. So you're going into the future. So it means it's a scene is pulled out from the timeline and is stuck at the beginning of the story. And then the writer takes the narrative forward to the flash forward and then after the flash forward. So it's like you've written an entire story. You take out an exciting piece of the story, you put it to the beginning of the story. And now you have to guide the reader back through the story you have to write back over the flash forward. You're not leaving out the flash forward. You write back over the flash forward, and then you go and you see what happens after the flash forward. So a flash forward usually happens during the story, and it's used to build excitement, create excitement, and build intrigue. So it's really to, it might be, you might not think the topic is too hot, but it's really used to wrap up the story and to give the reader something to look forward to. So a very, one of the most famous examples of a flash forward is when Ebenezer Scrooge is visited by the ghost of Christmas yet to come, the ghost of Christmas future, and he sees his own grave. So this finally tips Scrooge over the edge and convinces him to change his ways. So this is not a flash forward, the beginning of the story, but it's a flash forward in the middle of the story. So while the story is going on, we went to the future. Scrooge sees his future, and then he comes back to the story and he changes his ways, so he will not have that future. So we are looking again at a story prompt. This is another essay chair. You awake in the hospital, saying what events led. Say what events led you being there. So in this one, the person uses a flash forward. So let's see. I opened my eyes to see people masked up wearing all white. My head felt like it was going to explode. I twisted my head to the side and saw it was night through the window. My right leg was in a cast tied up to the roof as cold breeze bounced off my skin. The bed felt like it was made of plastic. I took a deep breath. The last thing I could remember was the bad dream. So this person is in the future. They're in the hospital, they bang up and they're sitting there and they're lying there. And now the story begins. They go right back to the morning. That morning, I was awoken by the dreadful noise of my alarm clock. It was too early, as the sun rays peeped through my bedroom window and I rolled out of bed. I got ready quickly as my dad parked the bikes from the car and my mom packed our breakfast. I dashed to the car just in time and we made our way to Shagama's bike trail, where I met my friends, Amaya, Lisa, Malcolm, and Jerry. Stay on the trail, my dad warned as he waved us goodbye. So this story is the morning, the kids are going on a bike trail, and I'm sure something horrific is going to happen. Maybe they did not stay on the trail like my dad warned. So they go and the story is going to develop, and at some point in time in the story, this person is going to end up in the hospital, and you're going to bring that hospital scene back in, and then you're going to talk a little bit about what happens after the hospital. Maybe they came out of the hospital, maybe their other friends are also in the hospital. So you start with a flash forward, what happens in the future, and then you go back to the morning. So they start talking about the night, and then you go back to the morning. So this was a wonderful opportunity to use a flash forward because the prompt actually said you are awake in the hospital. So the prompt has actually pushed you to write in a flash forward right here. So as usual, you could learn all or you could learn some. Remember, writing is not a race. You don't have to master all the techniques. Find which one you feel comfortable with and you master that one. Remember that writing is easier when you practice. So practice writing the flash forward, practice writing the flashback. And sometimes people call a flash forward and a flash back the same thing. They call it a flashback. But remember, one is future and one is past. Thank you so much for listening. This is Marsha Gomes-Mckie. Stay tuned to the channel for a lot more advice and tips. My writing text is available on Amazon, on Kindle and print. The name of the text is Imagination Writing. It's a do-it-yourself creative writing text, homeschooling companion, teacher's aid from one author's perspective. It's full of handouts. This book also goes with a YouTube channel. Subscribe to the channel and let's get writing.